Morning, chaps. How the dickens are you? Well, where do I begin with what I want to address today? Firstly, let's start with some feedback I received on Reddit regards the last video, because it is clearly time for me to address the elephant in the room regards quality, and in particular one of the black arts of movie making, colorization. Now, this brings up a lot of issues. Firstly, calling what we do movie making is, well, frankly, it's inaccurate and insulting to actual filmmakers. But we are on the path toward achieving it. But let me begin by looking at those two bits of feedback. I won't call them negative because I actually like feedback and find it as constructive when I am challenged. So how was I challenged in the last video? Well, frankly, I was quite correctly challenged, but what my challengers didn't seem to grasp is that my entire approach here is forward planning. I am under no illusion that I can make a movie. Not yet, but everything I'm doing here, including sharing all my research, is about preparing for the day that we can make a movie with ComfyUI at home on low VRAM machines. That day will come. But it isn't here yet. And since it isn't here yet, I have no intention of wasting my time trying to make high-quality video clips. But I think the time has come to explain my reasoning around that, since clearly at least two people disagreed with this approach. Let's now look at that feedback. And I dedicated this video to those two challenges, Spectazzy and Smile Clown. If you are watching, and I hope you are, then enjoy this brief moment of fame and glory. You deserve it.
Let's begin with Spectazzy's comment, where he rightly points out,
"Why are your generations always so low quality? Every single example you show in your videos has a horrible, sharp and blown out low-res look. It gives people a very bad impression, 122. Turn up the quality."
He's not wrong, but the problem with me is, if you haven't done your homework on what I'm about, I will inform you of that. So I did. And he has since deleted his comment, which is a bit of a shame, as I like a bit of a debate, and he absolutely did have a point. But this isn't about making high quality, this is about research. These two videos, which is likely what he was referring to, are indeed crap. But I was showing the ability of Vex to restyle. Now before I get on and explain this all further why it doesn't matter at this stage, I need to address a couple of points made by Smile Clown. Now, Smile Clown went out of his way to pick a fight. And that is fine too, because I am for it. But ignoring that, let's dig in and find the moments he had something of value to say. Or thought he did.
It does not care if you can watch a tiny 1950 TV with 3 channels and snow. We live in 2025. As such, people want examples that inspire them.
So a couple of things, and first I apologise for the voice, but I told him I would put him in here as Daffy Duck, and I like to think I am a man of my word. But I disagree with his comment, and here is why. Human beings want story. We have for millions of years. In a couple of years' time, we will be sick of seeing TikTok dancers, gorillas with selfie sticks, Sora, video style, AI slop, and AI art. People will want the one thing they always wanted, story. It's 2025, but so what? Absolutely no one has made a watchable movie with AI. Until we do, this is a gimmick scene that is of no value to anyone outside of AI creators. The general public don't care about AI. Until we can make story, it is going to stay that way. In response to his concerns about the low resolution and low quality, I told him that I can also upscale and improve things later. To which Smile Clown replied,
No, you can't. You can recreate it at a higher resolution and/or quality, hoping you get the same thing. You said this, so why conflate it? This is where you lose all credibility. There is no tech currently that makes crappy quality into higher quality. It's just higher res and more blown-out crap, or a new creation.
This was when I realised Smile Clown doesn't know what he is talking about. But like ChatGPT is doing, could have been confidently wrong. And he is wrong on this point. Even odder since he is responding on a post about using control nets to swap the style out, to restyle the details of the vase, which is the very thing he said doesn't exist. But what he also doesn't seem to know about is TTV detailing methods using WAN models set to low denoise to completely restyle a clip. I have done upscaling videos on it, and if he had done his homework, he would know that. Now all this brings me to the point of this video, which was to discuss colorization. I should explain why it is important, and why it entitles me to ignore the contrast blowout issues to some extent at this stage of the process. For that, we need to discuss the entire reason I am in this game, and presumably if you watch my videos, you are too. I want to make a movie. That is it. That is all I care about. I want to make a movie with AI. Like I just pointed out to Mr. Smile Clown, AI isn't capable of it yet. But the moment it is capable, I want to be there. In the meantime, I learn what I can about traditional movie-making methods. Now, if you want to understand modern movies and how they get made, you need to start at the movie and work your way backward. And there are 2 black arts, and probably more, that I suggest you look into now to be prepared for later when they become important. They will become important, but neither of them are being discussed in AI world yet. The first of those is sound design, and I won't concern us with that subject today. But without it, your movie will sound shit. Believe me. I don't use that word lightly. It's a bit shit without good sound design. And I don't mean music, I mean ambience. Secondly, and the one I want to discuss today, because it is relevant to us. And because it involves not only the feedback, but it also will go some way to explain why I don't care about the quality of my clips at this stage. So without further ado, let us discuss by way of some examples what little I know of that black art of movie making, colorization. The first thing I will say is I am not an expert on colorization. I am a dabbler and I have absolutely no idea what I am doing. I can point you to an expert on it though, and I also recommend you seek out only this one man, as he is the most respected in the scene. His name is Cullen Kelly. Do yourself a favor and watch his videos to learn about colorization. What I am going to show you here is just me bodging it to prove a point. Whenever it comes time to colorize my final cut, I seek out the tutorials of this man and work through them. There is no other way. What you're looking at here is DaVinci Resolve, which is where I do my final cut editing when I put a short film together. Something I haven't done since I completed my Footprints in Eternity narrated noir back in June 2025, because I am currently in a research and development phase. What you're also looking at here is the colorization page of DaVinci Resolve. Colorization, if you didn't know, is the black art that finalizes the look of a movie. For great examples of extreme colorization, think Blade Runner or Dune or any number of modern movies where the color really pops. Now this is where the science of color becomes involved. Because those movies were made in that way, they were colorized later. In fact, when they got made in something called log color space. And you should look it up because log color space looks absolutely shit. It is grey and bland and dull. Don't believe me? Here is some random person I found on YT to explain it in less than a few minutes.
What is log footage? When you shoot video with your camera or with your smartphone, by default, there's a lot of color correction and post-processing that's applied to make the footage pop. Professional cameras allow you to capture all of this footage without all of the post-processing. Why would you want to do this? One reason is so that you can edit it yourself. Or let's say you're shooting from multiple angles. One is a GoPro, another is a drone, and another is your smartphone. Instead of relying on the color correction that's inside your camera, the best way to make all of your footage match is to shoot in log, or in a flat color profile. Simply put, log footage gives you the most flexibility when editing your footage.
As to be clear, we are not working in log, we are working in Rec 709 or something similar, and if you hand over your video clips to a colorist to colorize, since they come from a digital space, they will be set to Rec 709. The technicalities of all this are for someone more experienced to explain, but it's enough to know this to then know the limitations of what we are working with, but not only the limitations, we owe it to ourselves to learn what can be done with what we have. For this reason, when the time comes that I start making a movie, I will not be trying to get the best, highest quality shot and make it pop with color. No. I will be trying to get the most neutral looking shot that I can, bland, boring, almost colorless to some extent. Why? Because that will give the most room for it to be adapted in the final process before becoming a film during the stage called colorization. Maybe you are starting to see where I am going with this. And I don't pretend to be following some expert advice, because there are no experts out there on how to go from AI clips to a movie. Why? Because no one has done it yet. So yes, you are correct. We are on the front wave of a new technology that no one knows what it will do, where it will go, or how it will get there yet. As such, this can only be classed as what it is: research. We are researching. And for that reason alone, I do not waste my time trying to make perfect quality clips. Now let me back this theory with a little bit of proof. And for that, I will not use Blade Runner or Dune, but instead I asked Grok to give me a list of neutrally colorized movies done by professionals from the industry, and the one that best fit my current Highwayman movie idea that you've no doubt seen me working on was Robert Redford's romantic movie called The Horse Whisperer, and in there I did indeed find some shots that fit for this purpose. Let's take a look at those now. So these are some shots I grabbed from the movie The Horse Whisperer that looked similar in colour and lighting to my recent shot of a horse galloping over a meadow that caused such upset with the Reddit experts. Regards, quality control. What I want you to look at here, I will provide some discussion on shortly, but those scopes on the right are showing all the information you could ever want or need. on the colour existing in these shots, and they also inform us about what the colorists who worked on them did, or would, if we had a clue. But I'm no expert, and like I said, if you want to know more, just go watch Cullen Kelly. But what I did notice about this was the colour has been pulled down to below the 50 mark for a lot of it. I honestly don't know what that means, I just know it is deliberately done, and I won't pretend to know what it all means. But what I will do is share on the website a quote I found about those scopes. But while we watch it, and hopefully to help you start to get a grounding and understanding of this black art of colorization, let's dig out the genius voice I like to use at these times and quote the info to you about those scopes. This comes from a gentleman on Reddit again, but in a colorizing subreddit, and his name is Sushi Ravioli.
I rarely ever look at the histogram when color grading. The waveform, RGB parade and vector scope are where it's at. Waveform scope lets you analyze objectively the luminance and contrast. The waveform is useful for matching the luminance and contrast of multiple shots. Use it to set your black levels. RGB parade scope. This is simply 3 waveform monitors side by side, one for each color channel. Does it look like your image has tinted blacks? Look at the RGB parade. If the bottoms of the signals don't fall in the same place, just adjust your shadows color balance until they do. Vector scope. This gives you an idea of overall saturation and tint. Anything that spreads from the center is tinted, and the further it goes, the more saturated that color is. The direction of the spread indicates the tint. If the whole signal is off to one side, then that tells you there is a color cast. Yeah, maybe that tint is desirable, so don't neutralize it entirely, unless you want a very dull looking image.
That was a short quote from Sushi Ravioli, and I will share the entire snippet on my website linked in this video. It is a lot to take in, and I don't pretend to know the first thing about it. I only know that colorization is a black art, and it is the last stage of a movie. It is also what makes it look the way it looks. I chose the Horse Whisperer for its neutrality, but what I immediately noticed was a lot has been done to it. There's a lot more to it, and I can see the LUT effect and the halation that has been added to give it that creamy and also slightly dreamy romantic look. But enough of that, let us now get on as I show you just quickly and with some screenshots what my various clips look like under the scopes. Because rather than listen to Reddit experts, we should instead look at the facts. The facts regards our colour are going to be found in the scopes. And let's begin with one of the worst offenders. And no doubt what upsets Spectazy and Smile Clown, and rightly so. It sets me too. It's shit. But I was using it only for its structure, as I then resold it with Vase, but let's use it here to discuss what we are seeing in terms of colour. If any of you watching are colorists, please do share your wisdom and pull me up on anything I say here that is incorrect. I really do not know anything about colorization, other than how important it is to finalize a movie and create an emotional connection to it. So you can straight away see the difference here between this and what we were looking at in the Horse Whisperer shots previously. But rather than try to fix this one, let's just have a look at some of the others that relate to the shots I had in the video that triggered Spectazy and Smile Clown. You can see the color scopes all look quite different for each shot, and maybe you can see the point I made about how the Horse Whisperer was pulled down to below the 50 mark, while some of mine are covering the entire range. No doubt there is a professional colorist reason for that, but damned if I know it. Maybe you can share in the comments for the rest of us what that is about, if you know. And finally, just for the hell of it, I spent a few minutes using what little I could remember of mucking about with the controls to try to match one of my clips up to one of the shots from the Horse Whisperer, and here it is. And here are the nodes I used to apply various changes to the exposure, balance, color, and saturation, and I learned those things by following Cullen Kelly tutorials. I don't pretend to use them correctly. It is an education I look forward to continuing when I get time. So that about covers it for the subject of colorization basics, and hopefully you have an idea now, firstly, of where it sits in the journey toward making movies, as well as why color and quality might be less important at the stage we are at in AI. Yes, if you are trying to make perfect clips, then make them perfect, I agree, but I am not. I am trying to create content for making movies, and I am doing that aware that AI has a long way to go before we can justify trying to perfect the look of a clip. First, we have to perfect the structure of those clips. Structure and method is really what I have been focusing on until now, learning and researching. And during research periods, we are not trying to achieve end results. It is only because of the negative feedback that I have bothered addressing the quality issue here at all. But from the kind of feedback I got from Spectazy and SmileClown, it was clear that two intelligent people didn't grasp what I had been trying to present, or why. Hopefully now they will. If fed, I can at least now refer others to this video next time someone gets upset that the colour or contrast is wrong. And now, if you don't mind, I will go back to working on the storyboard management software you see here, which I will indeed be pushing like a double-glazing salesman from the 1980s the moment I have it perfected. Until then, watch this space and go watch some Colin Kelly tutorials and download a free version of DaVinci Resolve and start learning it. You'll be glad you did. Ciao for now, Bambinas.